The sun had only just begun to warm the slate-gray tiles of the Red Keep when Sansa Stark rose from her narrow bed in Maegor's Holdfast. She lingered at the casement, knuckles white on the stone, watching pale light scrape like a blade across the rooftops of King's Landing. Somewhere far below, the muddled music of the city. 1,000 voices hawking, laughing, cursing, fought with gulls for primacy in the salt brine air. She should have been thrilled. Today was the second day of the great tourney her father had called as Hand of the King, a spectacle meant to celebrate Robert Baratheon's reign and, by unspoken design, to knit Northerners and Southerners together in the golden thread of chivalry. But Sansa's heart fluttered like a caged sparrow, beating not with delight but with dread. 2 hours later, wrapped in a gown of winter sky blue silk and ermine trim, a gift from the Queen herself, she followed Septa Mordain across the serpentine corridors toward the throne room, where the royal party would assemble before the tilts. At every turn she tasted damp mortar, as though the walls themselves wept for something long lost. A child's innocence, perhaps, or an honorable man's name. Her feet carried her, but her thoughts wandered north, to cold light mornings in Winterfell, to the ring of steel on steel in the yard, to Arya's shrieks of laughter as she tormented Septa with mud and sticks. Arya. She was somewhere in the city, practicing needlework of a sharper kind, no doubt, under the sly tutelage of Syrio Farrell. Sansa pictured her sister darting like a shadow through the maze of Flea Bottom, free of silks, free of courtiers, free of the poisonous attentions of a boy king with a lion's smile. Poisonous. The word slithered across her mind, coiling tight around a memory she wished she could sever. Joffrey's voice, bright and cruel. Leave her to Ser Island. The green fork of the trident, running red. Nymeria's howl echoing under the willow branches. Lady's silent confusion on that long walk back to the castle. The soft, irrevocable sound of her father's mercy blade sliding home in the godswood of men who knew no gods. She had tried to forget. She had tried to love Joffrey again, to see his flaxen curls and courtly bows and forget the pale ruin of her direwolf in the cold crypt of memory. Yet Lady's blood stained every dream. And somewhere beyond dreaming, beyond propriety, beyond the tremulous teachings of the faith, a seed had been sown. The small hall bustled with servants setting trenchers of honeyed bread and rashers of bacon. Sansa sat beside her father, whose eyes were dark hollows above an untouched plate. Across the table, the Queen dripped contempt in pearls and emeralds. Beside her, Prince Joffrey radiated golden impatience. He drummed jeweled fingers on the table, glanced at Sansa, then flicked his eyes away as though she were a tapestry too oft observed. Ser Barristan Selmy stood behind the king's chair, an old tree hemmed by younger oaks. Sandor Clegane, the hound, glowered like a storm. Ser Jaime lounged in gilded ease. Lord Renly grinned at his own private jest, and beside the pumpkin-orange beard of Ser Loras Tyrell, Tyrion Lannister perched on a high stool, sipping watered wine, his mismatched eyes missing nothing. Sansa chewed a corner of bread, though each swallow felt like stones. Septa Mordain's lessons in courtesy whispered that she must keep her head high, shoulders back, voice soft. Yet courtesy did not still her racing heart when she saw Ser Island Payne's butcher blade strapped to his belt. When the king roared for his courtiers to move, they rose like starlings chased from a field. Sansa fell into line behind the royal procession, the queen's perfume of crushed roses masking the sour tang of fear. Outside the hall, light flooded the galleries and speared through diamond-pane windows, limning dust motes like tiny falling stars. Near the base of the stair, Grand Maester Pycelle bent low to whisper in her ear, "Lady Sansa, a small draught for our prince's nerves." His gnarled hand presented a silver flagon topped with a wax-sealed stopper. "He is, after all, to ride in the melee at dusk." Sansa's skin crawled. She recognized the sigil etched beneath the stopper, 3 maidens chained, the mark of House Leford, whose western mines birthed the rare sweetroot that masked more potent flavors. "Thank you, Grand Maester," she murmured, taking the flagon with both hands. "It is thoughtful." Tyrion's chuckle drifted from behind. "Thoughtful indeed. Our nephew's courage grows when dosed with honey wine and flowers." Pycelle's beard trembled. "Merely a restorative." Tyrion raised a brow. I admire your restoratives, old man. They restore so many things. Rest, silence, memory. His mismatched gaze met Sansa's, bright as torch flame. In the right measure, of course. Sansa's cheeks burned as she tucked the flagon beneath a fold of her cloak. Tyrion studied her a heartbeat longer, then turned away whistling the Dornishman's wife. On the descent toward the Tourney, grounds the press of color and sound thickened. Banners snapping, trumpets blaring, the sweet acrid scent of torches and horse sweat. Stalls spilled pomegranates, cherries, and skewers of spiced lamb for a silver stag. Small folk surged like a single monstrous creature, each face eager for blood dressed as sport. In the royal pavilion, the queen fussed with cushions while Joffrey peered at the lists below, where the first tilt was readying. Ser Hugh of the Vale sat tall and shining in new-wrought armor opposite Ser Gregor Clegane, whose mountain bulk turned plate to tin. Sansa stood at the rail, the drag of the flagon heavy at her hip. The queen's words from a night past echoed, "A trueborn son is the realm's delight, a false one its bane." Did Cersei know? Did she suspect the father of her son might one day betray her in the very tower where she stowed her secrets? Sansa felt suddenly invisible, an ornament on which the realm hung its vanities. A horn sounded, horses pounded, spears splintered. Armoire rang. Ser Hugh toppled, open throat spraying red on the sand. Sansa bit her lip hard enough to taste iron. Children shrieked with vicious glee. Men waved golden hands of the Lannisters or argent trout of Tully or sunspear of Dorne. Death could be born, applauded, forgotten with a bowl of blackberries and cream. She touched the flagon. Her fingers trembled. After Ser Hugh's corpse was borne away and the lists raked smooth, the queen beckoned Sansa closer. "My son grows thirsty," she drawled. "Be a good girl." Sansa curtsied and offered the silver vessel to Joffrey. He snatched it without thanks, pulled the stopper free, sniffed, and grimaced. "What foul herbal swill is this?" "A restorative," Sansa said on a breath. "It will steady your hand for the archery at dusk." "My hand is steady." He tossed a mouthful down, wiped his lips with the back of a silk glove, and thrust it back. "Keep it. I want sweets, not sour goat piss." She caught the flagon against her bodice. The thick residue glimmered at its throat. Inside the pavilion, shadows pooled beneath brocaded folds. Beyond the tent's threshold, men roared as Ser Loras Tyrell cantered in silver-white glory. For one impossible instant, the world seemed to narrow to the slow drip of liquor sliding down the flagon's lip. She felt it spatter her sleeve, 1-2 drops, as a midsummer fly buzzed near her ear and was gone. Poisonous. Again the word. One need not possess a faceless man's coin to end a monster. One needed only a monster's own indulgence, and a moment. She swallowed her pulse. Her father's voice intruded. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. Yet she was no man, and the sword she knew was hunger for justice. Justice for Lady, for herself, for a kingdom choking on rot. She turned aside to where platters of sugared lemon cakes cooled upon a trestle table. Steam rose invitingly. She lifted one, split it, and with the copper dining knife scraped a shimmer of syrupy draught into the tender crumb. It soaked instantly, darkening the pale sponge to amber. Her heart thundered so loud she feared Sandor Clegane might hear and mock her weakness. But the hound's attention was on Ser Loras, whose white mare danced circles round Gregor's hulking destrier. Steel clanged. Crowds roared. Sansa replaced the top of the lemon cake as neatly as a septon closing a tomb. Sugar disguised any darker stain. Its lemon-bright fragrance swallowed the herbal tang. She set it upon a silver plate and carried it to Joffrey, who lounged half asleep on cushions, bored by beauty, petulant that every cheer was not for him. "Your Grace," she murmured, lowering the plate. "A treat." He opened one blue eye. "About time." Gloved fingers plucked the cake. He bit. Crumbs dusted his chin. A second bite, larger, swallowed with adolescent disdain. "Better," he pronounced. Yet even as he reached for a third mouthful, a notch of discomfort creased his brow. He rubbed at his throat. She forced herself to breathe. He finished the cake. Hands brushed crumbs away. The horn sounded for a final tilt. Joffrey rose to lean over the rail, shouting for Ser Loras. Half-chewed crumbs glistened on his tongue. Moments passed. Nothing. She tasted fear bitter as nightshade. What if Grand Maester Pycelle's draft was no more than honey and herbs? What if Tyrion's barbed jest had been a warning? The tilt ended in thunder. Ser Loras unhorsed the mountain through cunning rather than strength, and chaos erupted when Gregor's rage drove him to hack at his stallion's head. The crowd shrieked. Eyes turned from the pavilion to the carnage below. And Joffrey sagged. His hand fell from the rail. He blinked, sluggish, mouth half open. Then a tremor passed through him like wind through a wheat field. He swayed. Sansa stepped forward, afraid he might tumble onto the spikes of the balustrade. Her sleeve brushed his, and she felt the chill sweat gathering on his satin doublet. "Your Grace," she whispered. He turned hollow eyes upon her, pupils wide as moons, skin leached of its fine Lannister gold. His lips parted. She smelled lemon and fear. Then the breath left him in a single ragged sigh, and he crumpled, folding like cloth at her feet. It happened quickly after that, yet every heartbeat stretched into a chapter. Cersei screamed. Guards rushed. Ser Barristan knelt, stripping glove from hand to check the pulse of a boy king who had never known battle beyond play. The queen's fingers tangled in Sansa's hair and dragged her down, nails scoring scalp, as though by proximity she might draw the death from her son back into herself. Ned Stark tore Cersei away. Sandor Clegane swept Sansa behind his huge frame. Tyrion Lannister shouted for water, for the maester, for calm. But clamors rose outside the pavilion. Rumors flying swifter than arrows. The prince is dead, no stricken, no bewitched. One voice cried, "Poison!" and the fire leapt from that spark. Grand Maester Pycelle lumbered in, chain chinking, vials clattering. He pried Joffrey's mouth open with trembling fingers, sniffed, tasted a crumb smeared on the boy's tongue, and blanched. "Sweet root," he croaked, "chamomile, and something else. Tears of Lys, perhaps, or nightshade in cordial disguise." Ned spoke low and hard. "Can he be saved?" Pycelle's watery eyes slid shut. "He breathes, my lord," faintly. He uncorked a vial, poured clear liquid between Joffrey's slack lips. "Milk of the poppy to still his pulse while we purge his humors." Sansa's vision tunneled. Milk of the poppy. Purge the poison she had placed. Her knees unlocked and the earth rose to meet her, cool and merciful. But even the dark could not hold back sound. The queen's sobs, the hound's curse, the clatter of feet as knights spread to secure the royal enclosure. She felt hands under her arms, smelled straw and sweat and horse dung, and knew she was being carried clear. Her father's voice came as if through water. "Sansa, open your eyes. Look at me." She forced them open. He was there, the face of winter and honor, etched with grief. "What have you done, little bird?" His voice did not accuse. It bled. A bubble of hysteria rose in her throat. She swallowed it with gall. I only wished to ease his nerves. Grand Maester's draft." Her words tangled, spun, snapped. Ned glanced at the stain on her sleeve, darker now, and closed his hand around her wrist. "Come. We must speak somewhere safe." Yet safety was a word emptied of meaning. Outside, the gold cloaks of the city watch were lowering their spears across the exits, while Lannister men-at-arms in crimson cloaks formed a living wall. Panic rippled through the stands as nobles realized no one would be allowed to leave. The Hand's Tourney had become a cage. In the chaos, Tyrion navigated to Sansa's side like a ship through shoals. He cocked his head, studying her. Then Ned. "My Lord Hand," he said lightly. "It seems the gods delight in mockery. Our nephew near death at a tourney held in his honor. Who among us would have wagered such odds?" His eyes flicked to Sansa's sleeve. "They will look to blame someone. Someone small. Someone northern. Best we move swiftly to command the tale before the tale commands us." Ned's jaw tightened. What do you suggest, my lord? A trial of evidence, of course. Start by discovering which fool brewed that sweet concoction. Tyrion's gaze shifted to Sansa, and who carried it from the blender's hearth to his grace's royal gullet. Sansa shivered. She felt the press of Tyrion's mind like a hand turning pages in a secret journal. He read too much, too fast. A trumpet blared. Lord Renly's voice boomed from the edge of the lists, calling for calm in the name of King Robert. Yet Robert himself was still hunting on the Kingswood Trail, ignorant that the cub he'd groomed for future glory lay white and sweating in his mother's arms. Cersei emerged from the pavilion holding Joffrey, cocooned in mantled velvet, as though to display him for sympathy or prove he yet lived. Her voice cracked like a whip across the turmoil. "Find the snake who dared strike my son." She pointed at Sansa, madness shining in her eyes. "She served him. Seize her." Steel scraped free, for gold cloaks advanced. Sandor Clegane stepped between, sword drawn. "The girl's under my protection," he growled. "You'll come over me to take her." Cersei's face twisted. "I'll see your head on a spike for defiance. You can put it beside the prince's, then," Sandor said. "If he dies." He did not flinch. Ned spoke across the gulf of spears. "Queen Cersei, my daughter may be questioned, but she will not be harmed. On my honor, I will see the culprit brought to justice, Lannister or Stark or any name between." The queen's lip curled. "Your honor," she spat. But when Ser Barristan lifted a gloved hand to her elbow, she allowed herself to be guided back within, trusting in the Kingsguard's vow if not his sympathies. The gold cloaks lowered spears. Sandor sheathed his blade, and Sansa breathed again, though each breath rasped like a saw in her chest. Evening fell slow and red over Blackwater Bay, painting sails the color of spilled wine. Within the Tower of the Hand, Ned paced the solar while Sansa sat upon a cushioned bench, hands clasped so tight her knuckles ached. Septa Mordane hovered, face wax pale, reciting prayers under her breath. Tyrion leaned against a pillar, nursing a goblet. Grand Maester Pycelle dozed in a corner chair, exhausted by his labors at Joffrey's bedside. They had leached the prince's blood, forced him to swallow oils, burned lice root under his nose to sweat the poison. He lived but barely. Ned stopped at last. "Tell me everything from the moment the maester gave you that flagon." Sansa's words tumbled in gusts. Pycelle's whisper, Tyrion's jest, Joffrey's scorn, the lemon cakes, the fear. When she reached the moment the prince ate, her voice withered. Tears blurred the room. "I did not mean to kill him so soon," she blurted. The air stilled. Septa Mordane gasped. Ned closed his eyes. Tyrion's goblet froze halfway to his lips. "Not to kill him so soon?" He lowered the cup, his tone oddly gentle. "And when exactly did you intend, sweet lady?" I don't know. Later, when it was dark and no one would see." Shame scorched her cheeks. "How do you poison a prince in daylight and think to walk away unseen?" The madness of it crashed upon her too late. "I never imagined the mountain would. When Ser Hugh fell, I lost myself, and the cake. It was there, and, like a wolf at fresh lamb," Tyrion finished. Ned's voice was hoarse. "You procured poison yourself?" "No," she shook her head so hard her hairpins rattled. "It was the maester's tonic. I only concentrated it." Her breath hitched. "Father, I am so sorry." He knelt before her, rough hands cupping her cheeks. "You are a child of 13, caught in the coils of men thrice your age. The fault is ours who placed you here." Tears spilled. "I killed him. He lives?" Pycelle croaked from the corner, waking. "Though if the venom lingers, the night may yet claim him." Tyrion set aside his goblet. "Then we have hours, perhaps, before Cersei decides who to flay for her son's pangs. The question is, do we surrender the girl to her wrath and hope the king returns in time to temper blood with wine? Or do we place our heads on the block beside hers?" Ned rose. "My daughter will face justice, not vengeance." Tyrion's smile was thin. "Justice is a curtain that parts for whoever cuts its ropes." Septa Mordane crossed herself. "The faith teaches mercy." "Mercy?" Tyrion snorted. We stand in a pit of lions. Ours crawled. Lamplight shivered in drafts from arrow-slit windows. Fist beats echoed on the oak door. Harwin admitted Ser Barristan Selmy, silver hair damp with night sweat. The queen has sent me, the old knight announced. The prince breathes shallow. She demands the girl answer for the draft. Ned stepped between. My daughter will attend his grace with me present at dawn. Not before. Ser Barristan's lined face registered quiet sorrow. Lord Stark, you try my honor. I served your father's brother at Summerhall. I owe you truth. The queen will not wait till dawn. Behind him, steel rang as goldcloaks formed rank. Torches threw monstrous shadows across the corridor. Tyrion sighed. Time, it seems, has fled. He eyed Sansa. Girl, have you ever worn chainmail? What? He waved a dismissive hand. Never mind. Your size precludes the ruse. Lord Stark, I recommend flight. Out the postern into the city. Hide at one of Baelish's silken houses until Robert stumbles home in his cups. Septa Mordain crossed the room to bar the door, thin arms trembling. We cannot flee. It would prove guilt. Tyrion's brows rose. Guilt is already proven in Cersei's mind. Flight merely lengthens your breaths. Ned's voice turned iron. I will not bow to fear. Ser Barristan lowered his head. Then I must carry out my queen's command. Sansa rose, brushing tears away. If I go quietly, will they spare my father? Her father's breath caught. No, but his eyes told her he feared yes. She stepped toward Ser Barristan. I will come. Grant me one request. Let me visit the Sept to pray for the prince. It was a lie born in Frostfang winters, wolves feigning flight to lure prey. Yet she spoke it steady. Ser Barristan considered. A moment only. He beckoned two guards. Tyrion crossed his arms and watched, head tilted. Ned touched Sansa's shoulder. Daughter, trust me, she whispered. She did not, but desperate faith filled the hollow space where fear had lived too long. The door opened. Torches flared. She stepped into the corridor between spears. Ahead lay the Sept, and within it perhaps the mother's mercy. Behind lay her father and childhood's last shadow. In her pocket she felt the cool weight of a shard of broken flagon glass she had hidden when the maester slept. Poison might fail, steel might shatter, but resolve could not be taken once given. She drew breath, stepped forward, and the night swallowed her. Outside, the moon hung like a sickle over the Red Keep, and winds from the narrow sea carried the smell of distant storms. But within those ancient walls, storms already raged. Storms of lion and dire wolf and dragon yet to hatch. And somewhere a boy king's heart fluttered, uncertain whether to beat again. The game had changed, though the players scarce knew the rules. In the stillness before dawn, rumors sprouted like mushrooms in the dark. That Sansa Stark had poisoned Joffrey at her father's behest. That Queen Cersei had poisoned her own son to blacken the hand. That Tywin Lannister marched from Casterly Rock with 30,000 men. But beyond rumor, one truth lingered, quiet and unyielding. A gentle girl, taught to love tales of gallant princes and gentle maids, had reached for justice with hands that shook, and found them stained not with lemon and honey, but with the shadow of death. Whether the realm would cleanse those hands or cut them off remained for dawn to decide. Yet dawn was still hours away, and in the darkness, every frightened heartbeat wrote a new line in the song of ice and fire. Sansa felt the weight of every footstep as she crossed the torchlit corridor, the muffled clank of mailed guards on either side amplifying the echo of her pulse. The Sept lay ahead, its oak doors flanked by statues of the Seven, each rendered in marble so pale the figures seemed half made of moonlight. She tried to walk without trembling. With each breath she forced back the dizzying swirl of fear, guilt, and a strange, stubborn clarity that had bloomed the instant Joffrey collapsed. Inside, candles painted honeyed pools across a floor tiled in green, cream, and rose. The mother's visage watched from a high alcove, hands extended as if offering solace only once a soul had stepped fully beneath her gaze. The father frowned from his stone throne, judging from on high. Sansa lingered beneath neither. She moved toward the side aisle, counting 12 paces to the narrow door that led to the vestry. Her eyes remained low, lashes fluttering, the picture of a maiden come to pray for a prince's life. Ser Barristan halted in the nave. "I will wait here, my lady. 2 men will guard the door behind you. The queen insists upon haste." Sansa nodded and slipped through the vestry entrance. The door shut. She drew one measured breath, then another. Cool draft sighed through arrow slits. Shelves lined with chalices and incense lay in shadow, save where moonlight cut a silver blade across the flagstones. She listened, no footfalls, no rasp of metal. Fingers trembling, she withdrew the shard of flagon glass. It gleamed like black water. She searched hastily among the reliquaries until she found a plain pewter cruet of holy oil, sealed with soft lead. A twist of glass shattered the seal. She poured the oil into a bronze ewer, wiped the shard on her skirts, and dropped it into the empty cruet. Liquid glugged faintly. She pressed the stopper back. Poison done one way could be done again another. If they tried to drag confession from her, she would claim the draft was a gift from the maester, nothing more. But the cruet, if found, might bend the tale toward an enemy of the crown hiding in plain sight. She tucked it behind a chest of vestments. Perhaps someone would discover it. Perhaps not. Yet every lie required a seed of truth to blossom. Footsteps scraped beyond the vestry. She knelt, murmuring a prayer for Joffrey, for mercy, for judgment, for whatever fate might deem fitting. The Father of Justice felt cold upon her tongue. The door opened. One gold cloak peered in. "Time's done, my lady." Sansa rose, smoothing her skirts. Her palms left damp prints on the silk. She followed him out, ready to face the mother lion's fury, when an unexpected shape detached from a pillar. Sandor Clegane, helm under one arm, scarred face cut by candlelight. "We leave," he said, voice low. The gold cloak stiffened. "Sia, here, Grace." The queen's wringing her hands over a boy. She can wring them longer. He rested a gauntlet hand on the hilt of his long sword. "Move." The guard swallowed.
Ser Barristan.
"Old man's praying harder than the girl," Sandor snarled. "Go fetch him if you dare." The guard backed away. Sandor seized Sansa's elbow and steered her past the statues of the warrior and the crone. "Quiet now," he muttered. "Keep your wits. Every fool in red and gold will be after us once Cersei opens her eyes." Sansa's heart hammered, yet she found her voice. "Where?" "Out. Flea Bottom. The Hand's men have a bolt hole beneath the Street of Flower. Your father waits." They emerged into a cloistered garden steeped in moonshadow. Orange trees rustled, fragrant. Sandor guided her beneath an arch and down a stair that hugged the outer wall. Torchlights sputtered above, invisible from the yard below. The city slept fitfully beyond, but here only crickets and distant waves answered. At the foot of the stair, 2 figures materialized. Arya, wild-haired, dagger in hand, and Yoren of the Night's Watch, cloak stitched with tar and hemp. Arya flung her arms around Sansa before she could speak. "Knew they'd try to hurt you," she whispered. "I followed, hid." She lifted her chin at Sandor. "He found me first." Yoren scratched his beard. "Thick as thieves, the wolf girls, but you'll need more than knives." The queens loosed her dogs. Sandor snorted. "And you're a hound, are you?" "I'm the crow that pecks the eyes once the hound's done." He almost smiled. "Fair." A distant horn rang, sharp, guttural. "That'll be for us," Sandor said. "Move." They slipped through a postern gate. Sansa had walked King's Landing streets before, escorted by septa and stable boys, but never under cover of night. The cobbles felt alive, whispering rumors with each step. Slumped forms huddled beneath doorways. Somewhere a lute played, threadbare notes lost to the dark. Sandor kept them in alleys, cutting toward the hill of Rhaenys' ruin. Yoren lingered rearguard, muttering of rats bold enough to bite men asleep. Arya pressed ahead as scout, her excitement a flickering torch in the gloom. Sansa focused on breathing. She could not bring herself to pray. Prayers seemed brittle things now. They crossed the street of silk. Drapes glowed ruby behind latticed windows. Laughter rose, cracked, and faded. At a fountain dry save for moss, Sandor halted. He rapped thrice on the rim. A section of paving slid aside with a groan. From below, Lord Eddard Stark's face rose, lantern aloft. One glance at his daughters and relief etched lines deep into his brow. "Inside," he said. Quickly, the stair wound into cellar darkness. Barrels of pickled fish and sacks of grain crowded walls. Ned sealed the slab above. Torchlight danced on damp stone. Tyrion waited beside a crate, arms folded, torch balanced in an iron sconce. "Thought you'd forgotten my charming company," he quipped. Sandor shrugged. "Girl needed a nursemaid." Arya bristled. "I can gut a man, no doubt, but men don't come alone." Tyrion tapped the crate. "Enough. We have little time. My sister's men are sweeping the keep." His eyes met Ned's. "How fares his grace?" "Alive," Ned said. "Though the maester warns sunrise may change that. Then sunrise decides whether Cersei crowns a younger son this day or drowns us all in blood." A thud sounded overhead, booted feet running stone. Ned lowered the lantern wick. Quiet. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Sansa hugged Arya close. Her sister's bones jutted like those of a half-grown cat, but the strength there comforted her. She tried to match Arya's fierce glare whenever dust fell. The footsteps passed. Silence returned, thick as stew. Tyrion cleared his throat. Options. Flee the city by river. Hold here and hope Robert's return brings reason. Or strike first. Seize my sister while she grieves. He smiled wanly. I vote riverboat. Cersei's wrath burns hottest within these walls. Ned placed the lantern on the crate and unrolled a scrap of parchment. A rudimentary map of sewers beneath the Red Keep. Varys smuggled this to me. The spider claims certain drains remain unguarded. Yoren raised a brow. You'd trust the eunuch? Trust nothing except his own survival, Ned said. That may align with ours, for tonight. Tyrion peered at the map. Downriver to the Blackwater's Bend, then out the mud gate before dawn patrol? Faster to the Fisher Docks, Sandor grunted. But gold cloaks cluster there. Mud gate's chaos could hide us. Ned looked to Sansa. Daughter, if we flee, we may never see Winterfell again. Sansa felt the responsibility of his gaze. He had marched south for his king, bled honor in a foreign court, and now risked his life for her mistake. Yet the spark that led her to slip poison into cake still flickered. She wondered whether it ought to be quenched or fanned. She swallowed. I will follow you, but if we run, Joffrey's death or life means nothing. The queen will hunt us forever. Tyrion sighed. The north is far, and winter is coming. Her reach is long, but travel north of Moat Cailin and let the snows decide pursuit. He met Sansa's eyes. A simpler choice than vengeance under lion banners. Arya snorted. Let the snows bury them. Ned touched Sansa's shoulder. Your heart. She thought of Lady of Lemon Cakes, of Maester Luwin's tower full of books about knights who died for kings unworthy. She thought of a direwolf carved in ice, roaring forever. Father, I cannot undo what I've done, but I can face what follows. Her hands trembled. She clenched them. We stay. Silence. Then Sandor exhaled a short laugh. Little bird grew talons. Tyrion's brow furrowed. Then we require leverage. Proof enough to sway Robert or force Cersei to bargain. Ned unrolled a second parchment. A lineage chart marked in fresh ink. Jon Arryn died chasing this truth. Robert's bastards share black hair, strong jaw, the seed of House Baratheon. Joffrey does not, nor Tommen, nor Myrcella. He eyed Tyrion. Your sister's children are your brother's get. Tyrion's expression dimmed. Wine cup drained away. I suspected, never hoped to see it in writing. Ned slid the chart across. We place it before the king the moment he returns. Until then, we guard Sansa and ourselves in this cellar, or wherever Shadowbinder Varys leads next. Heavy pounding sounded on the slab above. Sandor drew steel, blade glimmering. Stone ground back. Torchlight flooded the stairs. Varys's powdered face appeared, spider brooch winking. "Apologies, my lords, ladies. The queen scours every chamber. She has names for traitors, Stark, half the Kingsguard, and myself foremost." His painted lips curved in sorrow. "We must scuttle." Ned lifted his sword. "Where?" "The Black Cells," Varys said. "Cersei's search avoids dungeons for fear of Mummer's ghosts. I hold keys. Passage leads to a dock below the Wailing Tower. A boat waits." Tyrion chuckled. "Always a boat waiting. Do you sleep in the bilge, Lord Spider?" "When storms brew, I choose driftwood over towers." They gathered sacks, cloaks, what little food was stored. Sansa clutched Arya's hand. The air below the keep grew colder, fouler. Stones slick with slime, the stink of mold and rot seeping from oubliettes. Rat squeals echoed. Iron-barred doors stood ajar, cells long vacant. Ned's lantern flickered past manacles rusted to walls, and a skull half buried in straw. Sansa felt each passing gate as a door closing on childhood. They descended a spiral stair narrower than a well's throat. In the depths, water lapped against stone. A skiff rocked, moored to a ring. Two cloaked figures held oars. Jory Castle and Tomard, stark men who bowed silent greeting. Ned helped his daughters aboard. Sandor followed, his height forcing him to hunch under the arched ceiling. Tyrion and Varys assumed seats near the bow. Yoren remained on the landing, torch raised. He spat into the water. "I'll not row with you. I'll pass through Flea Bottom, recruit strays for the wall. If Goldcloaks grab me, I'm not but a black brother. They'll chase the bigger fish." He met Arya's gaze. "Stay sharp, girl. Stick 'em with the pointy end." Arya bowed. "I will." Yoren doused his torch. Darkness swallowed the stair. Tomard shoved from the dock. The skiff slid into tunnel blacker than moonless sky. Oarlocks creaked. Water carried them beneath the red keep's belly, through a throat that smelled of seaweed and rot. Sansa pressed her knees together, fighting nausea. The tunnel widened into a cavern where faint starlight spilled through a grate above. Waves slapped limestone. Tyrion whispered, "Tide's retreating. Good omen. Or draws us out to open jaws," Sandor muttered. They emerged beneath a cliff overhang where pilings marked an abandoned quay. A second, larger boat waited, sail furled. Two riverfolk lounged on deck, lantern shuddered. Varys hailed them, voice barely above wind. Jory secured the skiff. Ned lifted Sansa up, then Arya. Deck boards creaked as they assembled near the mast. Varys spoke low. "South to Storm's End would evade Lannister triremes, but Robert rides northbound fast. I sent ravens. The king should know by dawn his heir lies dying." Tyrion rubbed his temples. "And whether he sees a Lannister plot or Stark rebellion depends on the song he hears first." Ned angled his jaw toward land. "I must return, confront Cersei, hold the keep for Robert's arrival. My daughters sail north with Jory. My blood must shield the proof Jon Arryn died for." "No," Sansa blurted. "I poisoned him. They will need me. My confession, my repentance." Ned's voice softened. "A weapon wielded once may yet wound again. I will not allow them to flay you for my honor." Sandor leaned against the rail. "I sail. North wind pleases me more than lion cages." His gaze flicked to Sansa. "Little bird will sing freer beyond the twins." Arya scowled. "I stay with father." "No," both Ned and Sansa said together. Tyrion coughed. "Touching. Yet debate invites pursuit. Choose." Sansa touched the pocket where the cruet shard had been. Now empty, yet shards lingered inside her, sharp with purpose. "Father, if Robert sees the lineage and Cersei sees her son dying, war follows. The realm will bleed. If I stand trial, a public trial, they may delay steel with words." Her voice steadied. "Let them question my guilt. Let them weigh poison against parentage. The longer they argue, the longer Robert lives to listen." Tyrion stroked his beard, studying her as a maester measured potions. "Intrigue from a Northborn maid. Color me intrigued." Ned closed his eyes, pain etched deep. Finally he spoke. Very well. We return together. Sandor clicked his tongue. Your boat'll creak back slow. Gold cloaks will see it, arrow it. Then we take the river road, Ned said. We land at the fish market, walk among dawn folk. Varys nodded. I will set lantern beacons to mislead pursuit. They turned craft toward the tide. Riverfolk bent to oars. The boat whispered across water turned silver by starlight. King's Landing's skyline rose. A saw of roofs and spires. Red Keep's mast looming, windows burning torch red. Half a league downriver, Tomard guided them beneath pilings. They disembarked upon a muddy bank strewn with net floats and broken crab pots. Early anglers dozed by fire pits. Gulls screamed overhead. Ned hid the parchments within his doublet. Tyrion donned a hooded cloak of rough spun, blending with dockhands. Sandor towered like a storm pillar but wrapped his helm in burlap. They moved in single file, river stink masking sweat. Dawn's first pale wash crept above distant towers. Market awnings fluttered as vendors arranged baskets of mussels, salmon, lamprey pies. Ned paused near a brazier, warm embers crackling. He pulled Sansa aside. Daughter, last chance. Board a merchanter for White Harbor. Trust Ser Roderick. He will meet you there. No, she whispered, voice hoarse. I face this. He nodded, pride and sorrow warring. Arya clasped her hand. Together. They climbed cobbled streets into the city's heart. A bell tolled from Baelor's September, dismal, slow. Black banners draped the steps. Royal mourning. Tyrion muttered, Cersei signals death's threshold. If Joffrey passes before Robert returns, Tommen wears the crown by noon. Unless Stannis claims it first, Ned said. Arya scrunched her face. Who's Stannis? Tyrion chuckled. Unsmiling brother of the king, stony as a statue, rightful heir by every law but affection. Few love Stannis, and fewer defy his right. Sandor sniffed. Love means steal little. At the muddy way, gold cloaks flanked an intersection. Arms crossed. Their captain raised a hand. Hold! Lord Stark, by command of Her Grace Queen Cersei, you are ordered to deliver Lady Sansa into custody. Swords slid free with ceremonial scrape. Sandor stepped forward, hand on hilt. The captain swallowed but maintained stance. Ned raised both palms. I will accompany her. Take us to the Tower of the Hand. We surrender peaceably. The captain frowned. Queen commands the black cells. If she desires a prisoner in chains, Ned replied, she must chain the hand of the king as well. Refuse and answer to King Robert this very day. The captain hesitated. From behind, a woman's voice rang, Obey your queen. Cersei herself rode astride a palfrey, flanked by Haleen pyromancers and a wedge of Lannister guards. Her face, once milk and honey, had hardened into alabaster fury. She drew rein. Traitors hide behind empty threats. Seize them. Chaos erupted. Gold cloaks wavered, sworn to city peace yet fearing lion wrath. Sandor lunged, bashing aside spears. Arya ducked under carts, dagger flashing to hamstring a guard. Tyrion shouted for calm. Sansa felt herself yanked backward. Ser Barristan, white cloak streaming, had taken her by the arm. Come, he hissed, eyes pained. He dragged her clear of the melee into a side alley. Cersei will spill rivers to drown blame. I vowed to protect the innocent. But I am not innocent, Sansa cried, stumbling. Tell a court, he said. They burst into a courtyard where Tywin Lannister waited astride a destrier, armor incandescent in dawn light. His green eyes, cold as minted gold, swept over Sansa. Barristan, he drawled. You disappoint me. Barristan drew steel. I serve the realm. Then serve it still. Deliver the girl to justice. He raised 2 fingers. Archers notched arrows atop a wall walk. Sansa choked on panic. She remembered Lady's last yelp, remembered lemon and sugar masking death. She stepped forward. Lord Tywin, I submit. Spare them. Tywin's brow lifted. Bravery, a Stark trait. Yet treason bred in youth must be cut or cauterized.
Siapa isten blocked here.
I will not yield a child. Arrows drew taut. Hoofs thundered beyond the gate. A horn bellowed Baratheon stag cry. Riders in black and gold streamed down the street, banner of crowned stag rippling. King Robert Baratheon rode at their head, wild mane sweat-plastered, bore spear slung across saddle. He reigned before Tywin. Silence flattened the courtyard save for wind-whipping banners. Robert's gaze fell upon Sansa, her dress torn, hair wild. He swung from saddle, boots striking stone with iron finality. "What madness greets me?" he roared. Tywin bowed. "Your Grace, the Hand's daughter stands accused of poisoning Prince Joffrey." Robert's eyes reddened by wine and ride narrowed. Joffrey draws breath. "Barely, sire," Tywin said.
Ser Barristan nelt.
"Majesty, this maid's guilt remains unproven. She surrendered to the Kingsguard's protection." Robert gripped his beard. "Gods, I leave you children 1 week and you tear the realm's belly open." He rounded on Ned, who strode into the courtyard flanked by Sandor and Tyrion, swords lowered but ready. "Ned, what sorcery?" Ned met his friend's gaze, decades of trust straining. "Not sorcery, sorrow." He removed the folded lineage chart. "Jon Arryn died hunting secrets, Robert. Here they are, set in ink. Your children, Cersei's children, are Lannister-born." Tywin's eyes flickered but remained flat. Robert snatched the parchment. He scanned, face draining. Fury and pain tumbled through him. His fists shook. "Cersei," he whispered, then louder, "Where is the queen?" No answer. Robert thrust the parchment at Tywin. "Explain this, my lord." Tywin read in silence, expression unchanged. Finally, "Lies inked by traitors." Tyrion stepped forward. "Father, no traitor's hand penned the prince's blonde locks." Tywin's eyes hardened. "Even a dwarf should know loyalty." Ned spoke, voice low. "We need truth, not threats." He glanced at Robert. "Hold court this hour. Hear witness. Let Sansa speak. Let the Maester testify. Let the bastards of kings landing parade their Baratheon brows." Robert's shoulders sagged under boarhide cloak. He looked at Sansa, fear bright behind her courage. He looked at Ned, loyal friend who risked all to speak cruel truths. He looked at Tywin, lord of richest lands, father of famed lions. "I will hear all," Robert said at last. "At midday in the throne room. Until then, Lady Sansa rests under my guard." Tywin opened his mouth. Robert cut him off. "Contradict me, my lord, and you contest the crown." Tywin dipped his head, slow as a drawbridge lowering. He wheeled his horse. "As you command, your grace." Lannister men withdrew, crimson wave receding. Ser Barristan exhaled shakily. "Majesty, the prince." "Lives," Robert grunted. "Send Pycelle. Milk of the poppy and prayers." Sansa's knees wobbled. Robert steadied her with rough hands. "Girl, did you poison my son?" She swallowed. "Yes." A collective gasp swept the courtyard. She saw Arya's horrified face behind Ned. She saw Tyrion's half-admiring grimace. She saw Sandor's dark nod, as if to say, "Sing true." Robert's jaw clenched. "Why?" "Because he ordered my direwolf slain and had a butcher's boy killed. And," she faltered, "because no one stopped him and I believed justice dead." Robert closed his eyes as if stabbed. Memories perhaps of a girl who died for love, a realm lost to debt. "Justice cannot be stolen," he whispered. "It must be forged." He signaled to Kingsguard. "Take her to Maegor's Holdfast. Gentle guard. She stands trial at noon." Ned stepped forward. "I will argue her case." "Forfeit the office of hand if you must," Robert said, voice ragged. "But speak truth." The courtyard emptied in clatters and whispers. Only Sandor lingered as guards led Sansa away. She met his dark eyes. He gave the barest dip of chin. Not farewell, but promise. As they crossed the drawbridge into the Holdfast, bells tolled anew. Slow, sonorous mourning. Whether for a prince, a kingdom, or a girl who traded dreams for poison, Sansa could not tell. She felt strangely calm. Noon would bring judgment. Noon would bring war or peace. Yet in her heart a silent wolf lifted its head and howled, and the sound was neither regret nor triumph, but something fierce and inevitable, as old as winter. She walked on, toward whatever song the bards would one day weave of this dawn, and wondered whether the tune would praise a maiden's courage or curse a young fool's folly, or simply note, in passing, that at times even lemon and sugar cannot mask the taste of fate. Sansa jolted awake on the narrow pallet when a key scraped iron against iron. Dim gray seeped through the slit high in the wall of Maegor's holdfast, enough to show the straw scattered from her restless turning. Her pulse counted the seconds, one prickly throb after another, as boot heels approached a long stone. They stopped outside the cell. Metal clanged. A hinge sighed. Ser Barristan Selmy ducked beneath the lintel, helm in the crook of his arm. Another Kingsguard closed the door behind him, remaining outside like a silent ward. Sansa pushed herself upright. The hem of yesterday's ruined gown clung to her ankles in stiff folds where river mud had dried. She remembered lemon and sugar, remembered Robert's face hard with decision. Noon, he had said. Judgment. She had expected interrogation, chains, the queen herself to storm in shrieking. Instead came the old knight's steady eyes, the scent of oil from his polished breastplate. "My lady," he said softly, "I have brought food." He set a wooden trencher on the lone stool, a crust of brown bread, a wedge of pale cheese, and a cup of watered wine. She stared at it, unable to recall the last time hunger felt separate from fear. "You must keep strength," he added. His voice held no lecture, only concern. She swallowed. "Is the prince?" "Still lives. The maester believes the worst of the poison is spent, but fever racks him." Ser Barristan hesitated, choosing words like stones from a riverbed. "The queen refuses any further leeching. She trusts only prayer. Will he wake? Perhaps, perhaps not." He sighed. "The gods weigh his fate while men weigh yours." She gripped the straw. "Thank you for kindness. Kindness is a small coin for such debt." He reached inside his cloak, withdrew a scrap of parchment, folded but unsealed. "Your father asked I give this." Her fingers shook, reading his neat, stark sigil. "My sweet girl, courage yet. Speak truth. Trust the sun to burn night away." "Father." Simple strokes, but his quill had pressed hard enough to pierce. Tears blurred the words. She blinked them dry. Tears would not help. "When?" she whispered. "The king's council convenes at midday. You'll be escorted above for open hearing." Open, meaning nobles, small folk allowed in gallery. Gossip hawked within an hour to every corner of the city. With an audience, any cruelty against her would echo, yet humiliation would echo also. The world would watch a northerner stand accused of kingslaying, a child before the Iron Throne. Ser Barristan studied her face. "I will stand beside you if the court permits." "You believe me wicked or foolish?" she asked. "I believe a child placed amid vipers may strike, though she means only to escape the coils." His mouth twisted, sadness or regret. "I have served princes all my life. Some I failed by too much mercy, some by too much obedience. Pray I do not fail you." He bowed and turned, leaving the trencher. Sansa listened to his receding steps until silence thickened again. She forced herself to rise, tore a bite from the bread, chewing though her throat rebelled. Father said courage. Eat and speak. She drank the wine. It tasted watered but faintly sweet, perhaps to aid nerves. Time crawled. She paced, counting strides 6 across, 8 back. She whispered vows. "Lady, guard me. Mother, guide me. Stranger, stay thy hand." Outside, bells told quarter hours. 1, 2, 3. The cell door opened anew. This time Sandor Clegane filled the frame, helm on, shadow huge behind him. 2 gold cloaks flanked him uneasily, swords drawn but aimed low. "Little bird," Sandor rasped. "Ready to chirp?" She smoothed her skirts, lifted chin. "I am." He motioned. She stepped into the corridor. Iron shackles hung from a guard's belt, but Sandor waved them away.
No chance.
She walks. His tone left no room for argument. They climbed spiral stairs lit by arrow slits where sun painted bars across dust. She glimpsed the courtyard below, teeming with nobles clustering like crows about rumor. Past the queen's apartments they marched, and the air grew hotter from braziers set to ward morning cool. Lannister guards lined every arch. Some eyed her with contempt, some curiosity. None spoke. Sandor's heavy footfalls beat cadence. Boom, boom, until they reached the high doors of the throne room, doors of weirwood and bronze depicting Aegon's conquest. Inside, murmurs churned like surf. Sunlight fanned through colored windows to dapple a forest of heads. Great banners unfurled. The crowned stag at center dais, the lion to its right, the direwolf newly hung at left. Curious eyes fixed upon her the moment Sandor guided her down the crimson carpet. She felt them pry beneath skin. Lords and ladies smelling scandal, sellswords gauging fortune, septons judging sin. She kept gaze ahead, on father standing beneath the throne's shadow, parchment clutched. Beside him Tyrion perched on a low step, gaze darting like a sparrowhawk. The iron throne itself loomed, all twisted blades. Robert Baratheon slumped there, more a bear trapped among antlers than a king upon a throne. Sleepless nights rimmed his eyes. At his right hand stood Tywin Lannister, immaculate. At Robert's left, Grand Maester Pycelle fussed over a parchment roll. Cersei was absent. Rumor said she refused to witness until verdict ensured her victory. Sandor halted 3 strides from the throne and stepped back. Sansa curtsied. When she rose, Robert rumbled, "Stand there, girl, and speak when spoken." Tension tingled across her shoulders. Lord Renly spoke first, voice smooth. "Majesty, let the record show Lady Sansa Stark presents herself at your decree." A clerk scratched quill. Tywin's gaze felt like frost. "Lady Sansa, you admit giving the prince a confection laced with substance unknown. You admit his collapse followed. By word of multiple witnesses, you alone provided the cake." "Yes," she answered, voice steady. Murmurs swelled. Tywin raised hand. Silence fell. "Do you deny intent to kill?" She swallowed. "I intended a harm," gasped. She pressed on. "I wished him to suffer as he made others suffer." Her voice cracked but held. "But I am no assassin. I used only the draft Grand Maester Pycelle prepared for calming." Pycelle shuffled closer, beard quivering. "The tincture I brewed was mild valerian, sweet root, chamomile. Enough to relax humors, not kill." Ned spoke, resonance of northern ice. "Then some other agent poisoned the prince?" Tywin's eyes narrowed. "Or the dose magnified maliciously." Ned lifted the broken cruet, wrapped in cloth. "Found in a vestry chest where my daughter prayed. Fragment of a flagon. Residue matches the prince's vomit." He handed it to Pycelle. "Test if you dare call truth traitor." Pycelle sniffed, dabbed, muttered chemical names. "Sap of nightshade, trace but potent, yes." Tyrion cleared his throat. "Nightshade dissolved best in oil. The cruet once held holy oil." He eyed Sansa. "You hid it." She felt hundreds of eyes. "I thought, if seen, they would call it proof against us. I was afraid." Robert leaned forward, iron clattering. "Afraid after, yet not before? Before I was angry." He studied her, perhaps remembering his own rages. "Anger I know, but anger alone breeds fists, not poison." Ned unrolled the lineage chart. "Your grace, we stand in deeper mire. Sansa's act, grievous though it be, is not root but branch. Joffrey's tyranny stems from false claim. Jon Arryn died seeking this." He handed parchment to Renly, who fanned it for lords to see. The black-haired bastards, the blonde princes. Tywin's jaw worked. Insult piled upon injury. Are we to accept scribbles in place of blood? Lord Stannis Baratheon's arrival cut reply short. Flanked by Stormlander knights, he strode the aisle, jaw like quarried stone. Few had seen him return overnight by fast galley, summoned by Raven. He halted before throne, bowed stiffly. "Brother, truth demands voice. I bear witness. Jon Arryn spoke to me of bastards with the look of Baratheon. He died before proof, yet I believe." Robert glared. "So you add your word to Ned's?" "Word and law, Robert. My claim stands if the Queen's children are illegitimate." A roar rose in gallery. Tywin's knuckles whitened upon his sword haft. Renly turned pale. Tyrion's lips parted in what might have been admiration or dread. Then the tall doors banged open again. Cersei swept in, green silks trailing like seaweed dragging a drowning queen. Her golden hair rode wind of her stride. Behind her, Ser Jaime paced in mirror-bright armor, helmet shaped as lion's head. The crowd's buzz faltered into hush. Cersei ascended dais steps without bending knee. She faced Robert, eyes luminous with tears unshed. "Your Grace, my son breathes fragile between worlds. Rumor claims your court debates his birthright while he fights for life." "Rumor finds root in doubt," Robert answered. She drew dagger from sleeve, small, ornate, its pommel ruby. Sansa stiffened. Sandor's hand moved to hilt, but Cersei offered blade flat across both palms. "Cut my wrist, husband. Test my veins. See if gold or black spills out." Her voice cracked. "Would you believe blood over parchment?" Robert stared, nostrils flaring. The hall waited soundless. He took not the blade. "I will not carve my queen for proof." "Then carve the traitor." She pointed dagger at Sansa. Archers atop balconies raised bows. Ned leapt forward. Sandor stepped between arrows and girl. Robert roared, "Enough!" The force rattled iron. Arrows lowered. Cersei's dagger trembled. Jaime's gauntlet closed over her hands, steadying. The king stood. "I will not spill child's blood today, nor wife's, nor lawful brothers. Gods, look at us." His voice cracked beneath weight. 7 kingdoms turned nursery of spite. Stannis spoke, rigid. "Law is blind to feelings." Renly coughed into hand. "Perhaps the realm might stomach mercy for once." Tywin's cool baritone, "Mercy buys chaos." Robert rubbed temples. "Silence, all." He gestured to Maester Pycelle. "Your healing arts saved the boy?" Pycelle bowed. "We have drained the venom. He sleeps. Bring him on litter guarded. Let the realm see he lives and weighs their choices." Cersei's eyes widened. "He is weak. He is king's heir. He will face his realm if he can." A long pause. She nodded curtly. Jaime departed with 2 guards to fetch the prince. While they waited, Tyrion approached the throne's base. "Might a dwarf's tongue lighten world weariness?" Robert waved grim assent. "My lords, my ladies, we hover upon a blade as thin as dwarf's dignity. Kill the girl, the north rises. Crown Stannis, the west riots. Crown Tommen, storm and stag clash. Yet perhaps there is thread to stitch the rent." He turned to Sansa. "You sought justice, not crown. Would you bend knee to family wronged?" She blinked. "I do not understand." Tyrion addressed Robert. "Grant the North trial by combat its ancient right. Let the gods decide guilt. Should Sansa's champion triumph, her life spared. Yet she admits wrong and offers service to the crown as hostage of peace." He spread arms. "A bridge, wolf and lion bound by blood withheld, not spilled." Stannis snorted. "Trial by combat serves spectacle, not law." But Renly brightened.
Spectacle pacifique road.
Tywin studied Sansa. Who would champion her? The craven Sellsword who sheltered her flight? The father whose evidence bleeds realm? "I will." Sandor's voice cut the air, final as execution. He stepped forward, shadow swallowing torchlight. "If the girl claims me," she swallowed. "Last time the hound fought for her, blood washed the riverbank." Yet his eyes held something akin to respect. "I claim him," she whispered. Tywin's lips pressed thin. "Then House Lannister selects Ser Jaime." Gasped. Ser Barristan frowned, yet law allowed. Robert scratched beard. "Very well. At dawn tomorrow in the dragon pit.
Gods decide.
He looked at Cersei. If your son recovers, he may watch from litter. See what oaths are worth. Cersei's smile glittered but reached not her eyes. So be it. The great doors opened again. Jaime re-entered, bearing not the prince but a crimson pillow. Upon it lay a crown of burnished antlers. His grace remains in fever, unfit for journey. I bring his symbol. Robert nodded. Rest him. The crown will attend. He gazed across gathered lords. Until dawn, no blades drawn, no ravens flown save by my hand. Break this peace and answer to me. He slammed fist on throne arm. Now out all. The girl returns to Holdfast guard. The hound with her, her father to chambers. Small council with me. The hall stirred into chaotic motion. Nobles dispersing, whispers rising, armor clanking. Cersei swept away without glance, spiderweb train shimmering after. Tywin stalked in her wake, silent thunder. Stannis exchanged terse nod with Ned before departing. Sandor guided Sansa back up aisle. She felt hollow, yet a fragile spark lived. Tomorrow a fight she would not have to swing, but one she would have chosen. Outside hall, Arya burst from behind a column, face flushed. I'll fight, she hissed. Let me. Sandor ruffled her hair like a mutt's. Too small today, girl. Another dawn. Ned arrived, clasping both daughters. Courage, he murmured again. You did well. He led them aside to a deserted solar. Shutters opened to city view. Bells tolled midday now. Ships dotted the Blackwater like flecks of quicksilver. He turned to Sandor. You would champion my child? The hound shrugged. I owe her a song I never sang. He grimaced. And I'd rather carve Kingslayer than kneel to him. Ned met his gaze. Honor should reward such pledge, yet I have little coin but gratitude. Keep coin, Sandor said. Pay me with chance to bite lion. Tyrion slipped in, closing door softly. My family devours itself. The dog arrives to gnaw bones. He offered Sandor a wineskin. Curdles milk of human kindness, but helps courage. Sandor drank, wiped mouth. Tyrion faced Ned. Tywin will not let this end in trial. Expect spear in night, poison unmatched. Ned nodded. My guard doubles. I hope your warning is not ruse. Ruse? Tyrion's laugh held no mirth. I prefer self-preservation. War would burn my schemes too. Arya scowled. We could slip hound armor in twin, fool the Kingslayer. An intriguing jest, Tyrion said. But Jaime does not strike unseen. Pride demands crowd. Sansa sank onto a window seat. She watched gulls wheel over the breaking surf. Tomorrow dawn would bloom red above those waters, and steel would sing. Somewhere in the red, keep a sick boy wavering between life and death dreamt unknown dreams. She wondered if he dreamt of lemon cakes and dire wolves, or of thrones made of swords. Evening shadows crawled. Ned escorted his daughters back to Holdfast, breaking fast on cold chicken and persimmon juice. Septa Mordane arrived, flustered, to pray and chide and weep, but Sandor planted himself within chamber door, arms crossed, wordless sentinel. Night fell. A low moon hung like a tarnished coin. Wind rattled shutters. Distant laughter wafted from pyromancers celebrating false victory in torchlit gardens. In her cramped bed, Sansa tried to sleep. Images swirled. Ser Jaime's lion helm, Sandor's scarred grin, Robert's haunted eyes, Tywin's silent wrath. Somewhere below, water lapped secret docks that had nearly ferried her to freedom. She felt father's kiss on forehead before he departed for counsel. He had whispered again, truth is sword and shield. Footsteps later, soft but deliberate, dragged her from half-dreams. She slipped from pallet, padded to door. Through crack she saw shadow crossing corridor. Hooded. The guard at corner slumped, head lolled, perhaps dosed with wine. The figure produced slender vial, glimmer of glass, and tilted few drops into guard's cup. Poison again. Her pulse roared. She reached for latch. It creaked. Shadow froze, turned white cloak over armor.
Ser Meryn Trant.
His mouth curled. She retreated. Keys jangled softly. He produced ring from belt.
Door klikt open.
Moonlight fell across his face, cold as bleached bone. Her grace wishes last confession. He stepped inside, closed door. Sansa backed till wall pressed her spine. Words tangled. Meryn advanced. Speak, girl. Did hand instruct? And no. He sniffed contempt. Then you alone kill prince. Coward's weapon. Must pay. He drew dagger, thin as a weasel's smile. Sansa's knees buckled. But another shadow loomed. Sandor burst through like winter gale, sword hissing from scabbard. Meryn whirled, parried. Steel rang inside stone like church bells. Sandor drove him against window, sparks bruising moonlight. Trance spat, slashed down. Sandor caught blade on pauldron, elbowed him jaw, hammer blow. Bones cracked. The Kingsguard fell. Sandor pressed edge to throat. Lion bitch sent you. Meryn wheezed, blood frothing. For realm. For coin. Sandor's boot shoved him through cracked lattice. He toppled, scream clipping short as body thudded on roof below. Sansa stared, frozen. Sandor wiped blade on cloak, glancing at her. Queen's guard, he muttered. Kingslayer's honor spreads like pox. He stepped toward her, eyes softer than she'd imagined possible. You all right, little bird? She nodded, unable to speak. He crouched, rummaged Meryn's corpse, found folded parchment sealed with lion wax. He handed to her father when Ned rushed in moments later, sword drawn. The message bore Cersei's handwriting. Confession accepted, justice swift. Ned's eyes burned. So trial by combat threatened, she sought murder. Tyrion arrived breathless. She dares while Robert drinks counsel read. The red note whistled low. This can sway the king. Attempt on prisoner in his house affronts honor he still cherishes. Sandor snorted. Assume drunk bear recalls honor. Let's remind him before dawn, Tyrion said. Night thickened. They dragged Meryn's body to courtyard gate, left it under torch so all might see lion cloak stained. Guard tongues flapped. Rumors sprouted like wildfire in dry hills. Past midnight, Ned led small procession to Robert's Solar. Sandor, Barristan, Tyrion, Sansa cloaked. Inside, Robert slumped over maps lined with spilled wine. Cersei stood by hearth, face set in marble. Ned tossed parchment onto table. Your guard tried kill my daughter under your roof. Robert squinted, read, belched. Cersei's eyes flashed. She moved to snatch letter, but Barristan stepped between. Explain, your grace, he said to Queen, voice trembling with betrayal. Cersei lifted chin. A forgery. More stark scribbles. Then Kingsguard's corpse shall speak, Sandor growled. He dragged Meryn's helm, dented and bloody, flinging it at her feet. Robert stood, sway unsteady. Enough lies. He pointed thick finger at Cersei. Under my nose. While we preach peace? What of her attempt on our son? She shot back. Execute her, and no more blood spills.
Ned barked laugh.
You spilled tonight. He eyed Robert. She fears God's judgment tomorrow. Robert slammed fist, wine sloshing. Tomorrow proceeds. If Jaime draws blood early, so be it. But this, he brandished letter, ends now. Cersei, you will remain confined to your chambers until trial's done. Tywin's men stand down or face my wrath. She hissed. My father will not bend. Then he'll break, Robert roared. Away with her. Guards hesitated, until Stannis stepped from alcove, hand on sword. Obey the king, he intoned. At his command, 2 guards escorted Queen out. Robert sank heavily.
Storm skadder, Ned.
I feel thunder in bones. Ned laid hand on friend's shoulder. Then we stand in lee side and hold. Sansa spoke at last, voice small. If I die tomorrow, will the realm calm? Robert's gaze softened. Girl, your death or life is pebble compared to mountains moved this week. But mountains start with pebbles. He sighed. Rest. Pray the gods choose well. They returned to Holdfast before dawn colors touched sky. Sansa lay again, but sleep fled. When cocks crowed, she rose, donned fresh gown of gray wool and white fox, gift from father months past. Septa braided her auburn hair into a simple knot. Modesty before gods, she murmured, though her hands shook. Outside, footsteps multiplied. City stirred. Bells calling small folk to craft and prayer, yet hush lingered as rumors of trial by combat spread. Some cheered prospect of blood sport, others feared war whichever champion fell. In the courtyard, Sandor awaited, clad in dark mail, surcoat bearing no sigil. His helm rested at feet, a snarling dog wrought in steel. He greeted her with curt nod. She offered pale smile. There was nothing to say that hadn't been said by midnight swords. The procession formed. Ned, Stannis, Renly, Pycelle, Barristan, Tyrion, a flock of lords. They crossed drawbridge to Dragon Pit ruins, once home to Targaryen beasts, now arena for man's savagery. Sun painted the sky blood orange. Omen whispered. Thousands filled broken stands. Gold cloaks, small folk, sells words. Atop a dais of hastily erected timbers sat Robert under canopy, crown heavy, jaw grim. Cersei absent, Tywin present in golden armor, flanked by silent knights. At his side, Ser Jaime stretched idly, lion helm tucked beneath arm, confidence radiating. A herald called names. Champion for Lady Sansa Stark, Sandor Clegane, called the Hound. Champion for Prince Joffrey of houses Baratheon and Lannister, Ser Jaime Lannister, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Tyrion muttered to Ned, "If dog beats lion," stories told round hearth for ages. Ned's eyes never left field. Sansa stood beside him, breath fogging as morning air chilled with tension. 5 septons knelt to draw a circle in ash, blessing ground. Jaime donned helm, gold lion roaring. Sandor placed dog helm, growl sculpted. They saluted Robert, then each other. Jaime flourish of sword, Sandor blunt nod. Herald stepped back, voice ringing, "Let the gods decide." Blades met with crash. Jaime danced like sunbeam, feet swift on broken tiles, sword flickering. Sandor bore forward, heavy strokes like battering rams. Sparks showered. Crowd roared. Jaime feinted, cut low. Sandor blocked, countered with pommel strike catching shield, denting. He advanced, forcing Jaime across loose stones where footing treacherous. Jaime retreated, mocking laughter audible. "Come, dog, fetch." He slashed cheek of Hound's helm, metal screech. Sandor drove shoulder, but Jaime slipped aside, carving shallow groove along Sandor's thigh. Blood darkened mail. Sansa gripped father's hand.
Ned whispered, "Hold fast."
Jaime pressed advantage, blade licking again, scoring arm, glancing off pauldron. Sandor bled yet lunged, catching Jaime's shield rim with hook of long sword, wrenching wide. He headbutted gold helm with steel dog, ringing clang. Jaime stumbled, snarled, swiped upward. Sandor's cuirass split just enough to nick ribs. They broke apart, breathing ragged. Sun climbed, glinting off dust motes swirling about them like fireflies. Jaime circled, swordsman's grin. "Your bark weakens, cur." Sandor laughed, harsh. "Still plenty bite." He charged. Jaime braced, parried, pivoted, but Sandor anticipated, twisting wrist to lock blades. He yanked, leverage born of brute power. Jaime's sword flew, skittering across stones. Gasped, "Yet lions do not yield." Jaime drew dagger, sprang close. Sandor grabbed his wrist mid-stab, twisting. Bones cracked, dagger fell. Sandor hammered fist into lion helm again, until Jaime sagged. Then Sandor kicked knee. Jaime crumpled to one leg. Dog blade pressed at golden gorget. Silence crashed over amphitheater. Sun touched high bastion of Red Keep. "Yield," Sandor growled. Jaime wheezed laughter. "Tell Cersei, I fought." Blood trickled from visor. He pawed at sand, found small stone, flung it feebly. Sandor pressed tip, drawing bead of red. Robert rose. Voice thundered, "Ser Jaime, yield or die." Jaime hesitated, long heartbeat. Then blade clattered from numb fingers. He bowed head. "I yield." Roar erupted. Some cheers, some shrieks of anger. Tywin's face turned granite. Renly whooped. Stannis nodded once. Harold declared, "The gods find Lady Sansa Stark innocent of treason's price." Sansa buckled. Ned caught her. Tears blurred vision, but heart hammered alive. Sandor removed helm, sweating, blood-smeared. He looked to her for only a breath, then away, as if praise were poison. Robert raised hand. "Let it be known, judgment stands. Wolf and lion bound by trial. Sansa Stark shall serve as ward of court, witness to peace between houses until Prince Joffrey recovers and grants pardon." He eyed Tywin. "None shall move against Starks nor Baratheon heirs. Break this oath and face King's justice." Tywin's jaw worked, but he bowed stiffly. Stannis stepped forward. "And the matter of succession?" Robert's shoulders slumped. "Later, in council. Too much blood for one sunrise." Tyrion murmured to Sansa, "Well played, girl. You bound houses with one cake." His smile faded. "But storms yet." Indeed, across arena Cersei appeared atop balcony, face contorted. She cradled Joffrey's crown as if it were babe. Her gaze scorched Sandor, scorched Sansa, scorched Robert, then turned upon father. A silent vow past none could hear, yet all felt. Nightshade's bitterness lingered on Sansa's tongue, though she had not tasted since that fateful bite. She realized justice was journey, not destination. The gods had spared her but tethered her to capital of daggers. As Hound limped toward gate, wildflowers of small folk cheers and jeers scattered air. Jaime was borne away by two knights, armor dented, pride rent. Tywin departed in wordless fury. Robert leaned heavy on sword as if aging beneath crown's weight each breath. Ned kissed his daughter's temple. "Come. Rest now." She obeyed, but as they walked she looked back. Sunlight struck Iron Throne through Dragon Pit's broken dome, gilding swords in molten gold. For a moment she imagined sitting there, not in splendor but in frigid resolve, righting wrongs. Foolish fancy perhaps, yet seed planted. They returned to Holdfast. Septa cleansed wounds. Maester stitched Sandor's thigh. Arya badgered him for tales. He swore, chased her out, but Sansa saw a faint smile he hid. Outside, bells tolled again, this time for triumph of God's judgment. Bakers sold wolf-shaped loaves. Urchins barked, "Dog beats lion." Lannister men scowled. Peace hung by thread. At dusk, Ned summoned daughters to Solar. Stannis waited, scroll sealed, offering seat to Sansa. "Your courage steadied kingdom," he said, voice gruff. "We sign accord, barring fresh crime. Stark's free to ride north once spring thaws." She touched parchment. "And Prince Joffrey? If he recovers, he'll face council recommendation. If not, order of succession will follow law." He glanced at Robert dozing by hearth, cup in hand. "Law requires brother before cubs." His expression unreadable. Ned looked to Sansa. "You hold quill." She nodded, dipped ink, signed name with careful strokes. Arya scribbled messy witness, tongue poked in concentration. Sandor scratched crude dog's head by signature to laughter. Even Tyrion signed, inked flourish. Tywin absent. Renly added with grin. Robert scribbled last, nearly blotting parchment, grumbling about too many words. Sealed with half-melted wax, the accord rested beneath weight of seals. Perhaps parchment stronger than iron. Perhaps not. Stars pricked sky. Torches guttered. Sansa stepped onto balcony, Blackwater breezes tangling hair. She heard faint shouts from Flea Bottom, songs already weaving day's tale. Somewhere a boy still fought fever. Somewhere a queen plotted vengeance. Somewhere home called beneath snows. Footsteps. Sandor joined, leaning on balustrade. He gazed at river lights. "You won," he said. "No," she whispered. "We only survived." He grunted. "Good enough today." She turned to him. "Thank you." He shrugged, scowl softer than usual. "Don't thank me till lions sleep." They never sleep long, she said. He snorted. Then keep dagger near. A thought struck. Teach me. Not the dance Sirio teaches Arya, but killing, surviving, she said. Without poison. He regarded her a moment. Come dawnlight yard. Small blade first. She smiled faintly. I'll be there. Down in courtyard. Ned spoke with Stannis, candles illuminating scroll between. Tyrion sauntered off toward wine. Guards shifted, uneasy peace settling. Sansa breathed night air laced with salt and smoke. She felt exhaustion deep, yet deeper still the ember of resolve, brightening. The realm turned upon small choices. Cake shared, blade yielded, vow inked. She was not queen, not knight, yet threads of fate wound round her hands. Tomorrow would bring new perils. Tywin's schemes, Cersei's fury, successional storms, northern snows. But tomorrow also offered sword lessons at first light and the promise she would never again watch helpless while monsters ruled. She laid palm on cold stone, closed eyes. Lady, she whispered to memory of white dire wolf, guide my steps. Wind answered, rustling banners. She imagined far-off howl across leagues of dark forest, and for first time since Lady's death, the sound did not sting. Inside her chest the wolf stirred, neither beast of rage nor prey of fear, but creature waking to world vast and wild. She straightened, turned from balcony toward new dawn, and walked to join her family, her pack, ready to meet whatever songs tomorrow's minstrels would sing.